All right, good to be back to practice after the bye week. Going out there on normal Monday and continue to prepare for a great team, as we all know. Like I said last week, don't see any holes in this team, and kind of like I said, referred to, with free agency, if they did have them, at receiver or linebacker, they filled them. So it'll be very challenging, not just to play them, but to play there. And if you think about it, we've really never played in front of a crowd in 2 years, because of COVID, to go to a true road game. So that brings challenges on its own. And so we'll have our hands full. I'm sure it's why we're a huge underdog for a reason.
All right, raise your hand if you have a question.
Lane, you've talked a lot in the past about being at Alabama for those Ole Miss upsets in 14 and 15. Do you talk about that at all, or kind of what do you say to your team this week about heading into play a number one team?
Not at all. That has nothing to do with this. There are no players, no coaches here, maybe Coach Nix, but that has nothing to do with this game. So those are two really big wins by Ole Miss. And, and any time that you go play a number one team, especially there, but you're going to have to prepare really well. You're going to have to play really well. You're going to have to get some breaks go your way, to have those type of upsets. That's why they rarely happen. And you got to have a lot go right. So, maybe we can get one of those passes where the quarterback gets hit and then they drop it and it tips up to us and we go score. Call Hugh and ask him what that play was called.
Lane, you said last week, talking about the open date and everything, that maybe it came a little early because you could use it later in the season to get some guys healthy and everything. You also said the health of your team was relatively good. I guess I'm asking, Jake Springer and, some missing pieces in the past, you feel like everybody's going to be ready to go Saturday?
Well, you guys know, say the same thing all the time. I hope so. I don't think the bye helped us, with those issues. So it is what it is.
Lane, this run over 15 years or so that Alabama has been on, obviously you were there for part of it. From your perspective, what do you think has led to the staying power that they've had? It's pretty unreal for a team to kind of have this run, especially in this, like you brought up, the free agency and all that kind of stuff.
Nick Saban. Alabama's been around a long time. They hadn't won like this, for a long time, or won big for a long time. So it's not like it's just a school. It's one person. So he's been able to maintain it through tons of different players, tons of different coaches, more coaching turnover than I bet anybody's ever had. And so it's by the way that he works. And probably more important than anything, the way that he recruits. They got great players. I think last year we played them here and, they had 6 first-rounders. We had 2 draft picks. So he's dominated in recruiting, and now with free agency, he gets to add on to that. And he said it himself when first asked about, free agency, that, it was going to make the rich richer. And he was right.
Seems weird to ask a crowd question, but you guys didn't play with crowds last year. It wasn't loud really any place. You're going to Tuscaloosa, it'll be full, it'll be loud. What are you doing this week to just kind of prepare for that for the first time since you've been here?
Just normal crowd noise, like we always have for years. I don't think there's much more than you can do. I think more than the noise itself, I think is just staying poised when you're in an environment like that, not making mistakes just because of the energy level. More than the actual crowd noise itself affecting, your actual snap counts and plays.
What stands out about Bryce Young and just kind of what makes this Alabama offense work the way it has?
Well, he's got great weapons. He gets out of trouble. He's been very accurate, short to midfield. And you can see last week he basically had numbers that are hard to do on air, when you're going against nobody. So he's picked up really well, and again, there's another coaching change that they've picked up through, and by far the number one team in the country.
this is probably more curiosity than anything, but I know you've taken a liking to Saban's rat poison line. I know he said it after you'd left, but was that something that you'd heard from him internally while you were there, or just kind of what has led you to liking that piece of wisdom so much?
He'd not. That was new. Somebody must have given it to him after I left. So I just think it's really good, especially the way he explained it. You know, it's like drinking rat poison. You know, it's pretty good. So I would say Lonnie or Dr. Elko must have given him that one. It's pretty good.
I want to take questions at the top of the room.
Lane, you mentioned, you guys are going to a hostile environment, everything, crowd noise. Just how much does it help to have a quarterback like Matt, be able to, lead this offense and try to keep everybody composed throughout this game?
Well, hopefully it helps a lot. But again, he's really not done this with us. Maybe he did the year before. So this is a new set of challenges for him too, and all to Purdue rat poison around his success so far, and talking about Heisman trophies, which is ridiculous at this stage of the year. Like I told the players, there's only one ranking that ever matters. That's your final ranking. All the other stuff means nothing. It's like being ahead, 3 rounds in a heavyweight fight. It's going 12 rounds. It don't mean anything. So we have a long ways to go and a lot of work to do and a lot of things to work on.
Or we'll take questions on Zoom.
There's the first question on Zoom. Please raise your hand. I'll call on you. Unmute yourself.
Lane, how much does Nick normally, you were part of this for a while, how much does he prepare or look at SEC opponents during the offseason, if at all? And do you think that because of the success you guys had against their defense last year, that you got a little more preparation for this game?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great coach. And so, if you have issues the season before being there with him, especially on that side of the ball, he's going to, spend time studying that and spend time, looking at what to do. And so, we already heard he spent time in the off season and that they, worked a lot of drop 8 against us. So we're practicing, expecting to see that.
Will Bender, go ahead.
Hey, Lane. Lane, with Matt, what did he show you right off the go last year at Florida that showed you that he would be a good fit in your offense? And what has made him so effective over the last year and a half with his development? I mean, obviously he's putting up the numbers, but there has to be more to it than that, right?
Yeah, I think in that Florida game, having never played with him, and in that game, they were playing a lot of the same coverage to formations, and so we're actually drawing things up during the game on the sidelines, and that's hard to execute when you haven't been with people and haven't had reps, and his ability to do that and change on the fly was very impressive. So he continues to get better this year protecting the ball, and that'll be huge again. I think I saw a stat somewhere on TV or something that, the only teams that have ever beat him, Alabama, I think, were 0 interceptions, somebody said, or I think I saw that.
Parrish, go ahead.
I think this falls under the category of rat poison, but is there benefit for the program in any way that Matt is generating so much Heisman talk right now?
Well, again, for Matt, for this team, none of that means anything, just like the final ranking, being in the top for some Heisman, media talk now means nothing. It only matters if you win the thing. But sure, there's something to that about energy, or you go on the road recruiting like this week and, nationally everybody knows who Matt is. Everybody has, watched us, and I feel like they know our team more than probably in a long time here. The Monday night game helped, having the spotlight that we did. And so, yeah, there's a lot of energy around, but that can die really quick if you don't keep playing well.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the room.
Coach, what can a game like this do for your recruiting efforts, not only for the 2020 class, but beyond?
Well, I think if you just look at recruiting and beyond, the most important thing is to play well. Even if that's not in a win, again, this is just in the recruiting aspect, so recruits see, okay, hey, we go there, we're close to playing with the number one team. So maybe myself and a couple kids can be the difference, of taking us there. So I think that's, from a recruiting standpoint, help. You've heard me say before, we ain't here to, cover spreads or play close games, because that doesn't matter in this room or with the program, but outside in recruiting, yeah, that's, is what it is.
Coach, Alabama does a really good job in their secondary disguising coverages. What do you guys do for this week to prepare, Matt, for that?
Well, like every week, whatever they do, we try to simulate. Our service guys have meetings and try to give them the same looks. And again, with us, we never know because it's a little harder to disguise because of our tempo. So we're kind of never sure what people are going to do because a lot of times we get a completely different game plan than what they've shown because we're so different.
Lane, we see the big arm and the accuracy of Matt Corral and his statistics and what he does every Saturday. What are the intangibles you see in him that make him the quarterback that he is? The things that we don't see just by watching the game.
Well, I think that he's here at 5:30 in the morning, every morning, in the way that he prepares and, comes to meetings, his approach to it, and getting on the players, when they're not doing things right, even defensively. So, really those leadership things, when you guys aren't looking.
Looked like Florida had a lot of success running the ball against this Alabama defense, and you guys obviously had success doing it last year too. What have you seen on tape that kind of went right for Florida, and what are you guys trying to replicate from that?
Well, it wasn't a secret formula. They blocked them well at times, made the safeties miss, and, had some good schemes, and the quarterback can run himself. So that's usually the formula against anybody, but especially them. So,
We'll take one more at the top of the room.
Lane, both, last year's Alabama team, great team. This year's team, another great team. Both in their own right, though, both unique. Just what makes this year's team, special that you've seen from them?
I think they're even better. I said last year was a great team, and I think people, I said maybe his best team ever. I think people think I was just saying that leading up to the game. But then you look and, they run the table and not really close games. I think somebody said, in the last 2 years, only Florida and Ole Miss have scored over 24 points against them. So, and I think they're better on defense. With the Tennessee linebacker, added in, 31's now older. He's as good as any rusher in the country. So, we'll have our hands full.